You are watching The World 24/7 on the NDTV network. I'm Parmeshwar Bawa. Let's begin with the top stories you need to know. Special counsel prosecutors dismissed the two federal criminal cases against Donald Trump in separate court filings as they bowed to the reality that they would not be completed or proceed to trial before Trump returns to the presidency next year. Trump says he'll slap tariffs on Canada, China and Mexico on day one. He has said when he takes office on January 20th, 2025, he will charge Mexico and China with a 25% tariff on all products coming into the United States. As per reports, Netanyahu has signaled his potential approval for the emerging ceasefire with Hezbollah during a security consultation with Israeli officials over the weekend. The floods brought by Storm Bert have been absolutely devastating as heavy rain and strong winds continue to move across the United Kingdom. Veer Das, who is the first Indian ever to host the mega international Emmy Awards, owned the red carpet along with Aditya Roy Kapoor in New York. The Emmys feature over 50 nominees from 21 countries, including India, Australia, the UK, Argentina, Brazil, and France, among others. Well, our big focus, special counsel prosecutors have dismissed the two federal criminal cases against Donald Trump in separate court filings as they bow to the reality that they would not be completed or proceed to trial before Trump returns to the presidency next year. So now this move effectively ends the lengthy legal battles surrounding Trump's handling of classified documents and his attempts to overturn the 2020 election results. But analysts also say this reflects the extraordinary ability of Trump to sidestep an indictment that would have sunk the presidential bid of anyone else. Do remember, with his election victory, the cases were always bound to be dropped as a long-standing Justice Department policy prevents criminal actions against a sitting president. My colleague Benji Haya joins you with the lowdown.
He didn't win in the courtroom, but at the ballot box, and Donald Trump's victory in 2024 all but puts an end to his legal challenges by consigning his outstanding trials to the ash heap of history. Both the one dealing with the previous election, which culminated in a deadly riot on Congress, and another on his alleged hoarding of classified documents, which was dismissed by a Trump-appointed judge this summer and is also being abandoned by the Justice Department. Even though Trump was criminally prosecuted as a private citizen, his impending inauguration throws up an unprecedented constitutional conundrum. Confronted with the situation, the special counsel sought legal advice and concluded the cases be thrown out because the Constitution forbids the federal indictment of a serving president. Meanwhile, his sentencing in his hush money case was postponed last week following a Supreme Court ruling which grants him presidential immunity for so-called official acts. Trump calls these decisions a major victory for the rule of law, promising to end the political weaponization, he says, of the justice system. But having largely evaded America's justice system, he now has a chance to weaponize it in his favor and reshape the rule of law to his whim. Benji Haya, NDTV, Washington.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump is making good on his tariff promises, saying he plans to impose them on Mexico, Canada and China in an effort to stop the flow of drugs entering the country and also illegal border crossings. Trump posted on his Truth Social platform that one of the first executive orders that he will sign when he takes office on the 20th of January 2025 will be to charge Mexico and China with a 25% tariff on all products coming into the United States. In another post, Trump said he will be charging China with an additional 10% tariff on top of any additional tariffs on products coming into the US, arguing the country wasn't doing enough to stop the flow of illicit drugs. So, economists predict that the tariffs imposed by Trump would lead to higher prices for US shoppers. Importers typically pass on the added cost of these tariffs to consumers, making everyday goods more expensive. But according to an estimate from the Peterson Institute for International Economics, Trump's tariffs could cost the average American household around $2,600 annually. With that, let's turn our attention now to Dr. Jaishankar's touchdown in Italy. Well, India supports an immediate ceasefire in West Asia with a long-term commitment to a two-state solution, as stated by External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar during the 10th edition of the Mediterranean Dialogue in Rome. Dr. Jaishankar condemns terrorism, hostage-taking and the civilian casualties resulting from military operations. In fact, I must inform you that he emphasized that India considers large-scale civilian casualties in military actions to be unacceptable and stressed that international humanitarian law must be upheld and cannot be disregarded. Listen in to what the Foreign Minister had to say.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has personally engaged leaders of both Russia and Ukraine to this end. This has included his visiting Moscow and Kiev. Our senior officials remain in continuous touch. We firmly believe that those who have the ability to explore finding common ground must step up to that responsibility. The IMEC, the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, that was announced in September 2020, can be a game changer. The conflict underway currently in the Middle East has undoubtedly been a major complication, but it is proceeding, the IMEC is proceeding ahead on the eastern side, especially between India and the UAE and Saudi Arabia. Our concerns have also been increasing on the widening of the conflict. We have been in regular touch with both Israel and Iran at the highest levels to advocate restraint and enhance communication.
My colleague Mohammad Ghazali joins us live. He's been tracking Dr. Jaishankar's visit very closely. As we've just heard, Ghazali, Dr. Jaishankar has voiced concerns over the widening conflict in West Asia. But take us through the key takeaways from the last 24 hours.
Dr. Jaishankar spoke about two conflicts, both Russia and Ukraine and the war in the West Asia. And in both the cases, he emphasized that how India or Prime Minister Modi has been in touch with the leaders of both the groups which are at war. When it comes to Russia and Ukraine, how Prime Minister Modi or the government of India have been in touch with Mr. Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, as well as President Putin. And it also outlined that for West Asia, India is also in touch with Iran and Israel both, which is largely believed that Iran is fueling all the trouble in the Middle East. But India continues to have its relations with both the parties in both the conflicts. And that is where the concern grows that how India will proceed with the connectivity issue, because India is also working on this IMEC corridor, which was conceptualized last year in the G20, where India was the host. And that is why Mr. Jaishankar said that the first leg or the eastern part of that corridor, which connects India to UAE as well as Saudi Arabia, is in work or is in progress. But it can only work or fructify if the conflict in both the regions is stopped, if the wars is stopped in both the regions, whether it be Russia, Ukraine, or the Israel-Iran conflict which is going on. Besides that, the message was also there that India, being the voice of the global South, is trying to pose itself that it can work on a solution, it can offer itself as a peacemaker, and having good relations with both the parties in all the conflicts, India also offers a chance that it can bring these leaders or these groups to table for a discussion.
As always, Ghazali, thanks so much for joining us with the latest. Well, Israel has conducted multiple attacks in southern Beirut, and battles have raged in southern Lebanon after Hezbollah claimed 50 attacks on Israeli targets in one day. The escalation came as the United States and the European Union pushed for a truce in a war Lebanon had said has killed at least 3,754 people. This is since October 2023, most of them though in the past 2 months. Meanwhile, as per reports, Benjamin Netanyahu has signaled his potential approval for the emerging ceasefire with Hezbollah during a security consultation with Israeli officials. Reports also highlight that while talks appear to be moving positively towards an agreement, one has to acknowledge that as Israel and Hezbollah continue to trade fire, one misstep could hamper the talks. Sarah Coates highlights why.
Well, there is cautious optimism here in the region that something may actually be achieved with regards to this ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah, with that Israeli Security Cabinet meeting happening, as you mentioned, on Tuesday. Now, once again, cautious optimism, but we have certainly seen a lot of these ceasefire efforts fall through in the past. Now, one of the main sticking points, according to the Israelis, is that Israel wants the freedom to respond militarily to Hezbollah if this ceasefire is in any way violated. Now, there is a bit of pushback when it comes to the far right wing here in Israel. They're basically urging the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to reconsider, saying that it is not too late, while a number of these northern mayors have been calling this a surrender deal. Now, from what we do understand, this would be mainly based around UN Security Resolution 1701. It would actually be monitored by a five-party body headed up by the United States. And what it will basically mean is that these Hezbollah fighters, they need to move further north, back behind the Litani River, while these Israeli troops, they actually need to completely pull out of Lebanon. Now, as these ceasefire efforts continue, so too do hostilities. There have been a number of airstrikes in the east of Lebanon over the past hours in the Baalbek region. We do understand that 9 people have been killed there. There have also been strikes down in the south, in the Tyre region, with some 15 people killed there. That is according to Lebanon's health ministry. Well, there's been a fresh evacuation order and reported strikes in the southern areas of Beirut. While here in Israel, red alert sirens continue to ring out, the result of missiles and drones being sent into Israeli territory by Hezbollah. Sarah Coates for NDTV, Tel Aviv.
With that, let's turn our attention now to the United Kingdom. Well, commuters there were warned not to travel as Storm Bert continued to cause havoc across the country. The second named storm of the season brought devastation over the weekend, with the deaths of at least 4 people, while hundreds of homes were flooded and several areas were left without electricity. The impact of the storm prompted Steve Reid, the Environment Secretary, to say the UK's flood defences were in their worst condition on record. And I must mention that more than 130 flood warnings and 160 alerts remained in place across the United Kingdom as of Monday evening. And switching tracks, Veer Das, who is the first Indian ever to host the Mega International Emmy Awards, owned the red carpet along with Aditya Roy Kapoor in New York. The Emmys feature over 50 nominees from 21 countries, including India, Australia, the United Kingdom, Argentina, Brazil, as well as France, among others. And Abira has been tracking the latest as far as all the developments in New York are concerned. She joins us live at the moment. Abira, take us through the leading nominations for the 2024 International Emmy Awards. As we can see, Aditya Roy Kapoor and Veer Das have already set the red carpet on fire.
Yes, the event has already started. Veer Das spoke to the media on the red carpet and he said, he was asked if he's nervous and he said, good nervous. So that's a good thing, and fingers crossed for Aditya Roy Kapoor because Night Manager has been nominated for Best Drama. Hope, we again bring home an Emmys this time. Last year, Ekta Kapoor was the first Indian ever to get an Emmys, and of course followed by Veer Das the same year, last year, 2023. And this year, Veer Das is, of course, hosting it, again making history for us, being the first Indian ever. And we already have some winners. We have Best Arts Programming goes to Pianoforte. We have Best Performance by an Actress that went to Akoba Chutimon. And we have Non-Scripted Entertainment winner, which is a Restaurant Misfir Stand Season 2. So yeah, the announcement is continuing, and while we are speaking, there are more winners' names coming up, and we are seeing these videos of Veer Das doing the rounds where the audience is in splits, laughing, and they are enjoying themselves. And Veer Das is absolutely in form, and yes, we are absolutely proud of him.
Abira, we will of course touch base with you as in when more winners are announced in New York. Thanks so much for joining us with that update. As always, news and updates continue right here on NDTV. Taking a quick break for now. Welcome back. At least one police officer has been killed and dozens injured in Pakistan as clashes erupted between supporters of jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan and security forces outside Islamabad. The violence followed Mr. Khan's call for a march on Parliament and a sit-in to demand his release. Take a look at the finer details.
जान भी चली जाए अब इमरान खान को रिहा करके ही हम दम लेंगे.
Pakistan continues teetering on the edge. Tensions are simmering once again in the cash-strapped nation as police clash with thousands of supporters of former Prime Minister Imran Khan demanding his immediate release. The scene is chaotic as protesters march towards the nation's capital, Islamabad. The convoy, led by Khan's wife, Bushra Bibi, and senior lawmaker Ali Amin Gandapur, began its journey from Peshawar. As they approached Islamabad, Bushra addressed the crowd, vowing that the march would continue until Khan, jailed on controversial charges, is set free.
रहीम रसूलुल्लाह के उम्मतियों को खान को और मेरा सलाम. खान के हुक्म पे 24 नवंबर से नहत्ती अवाम रुकावटें हटाती हुई इस्लामाबाद पहुंच रही है. जो अभी तक नहीं निकले वो अपने और अपने मुल्क के मुस्तकबिल के लिए इस्लामाबाद पहुंचे क्योंकि आपके मुल्क के मुस्तकबिल का सवाल है. बहुत शुक्रिया.
Meanwhile, in Rawalpindi, PTI party leaders visited Khan in Adiala jail and held a 90-minute meeting with Imran Khan. The mood was defiant as supporters gathered nearby chanting slogans in his favor, calling him their true leader and demanding his freedom. But the peaceful protests soon turned violent. In Swabi, a northern city in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, police responded with tear gas as protesters used slingshots to launch projectiles at officers. The clash between police and protesters escalated quickly, with both sides exchanging heavy blows. And upwards of 5,000 PTI protesters and leaders, mainly coming from Khan's stronghold region of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, have already been arrested en route. This is the latest chapter in the ongoing battle between Khan's Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf party and the authorities. The situation is more than just a political standoff. It's a struggle for power and influence in a country where the military has long held sway, but where Khan's use of social media has reshaped the game. Since Khan's arrest, large-scale protests have become a regular occurrence. In September, tens of thousands defied a government ban on rallies, making their way to Islamabad to demand his release. As the stakes grow higher, the battle for Khan's freedom is far from over, and it's clear that the situation could spiral further out of control. For now, the march towards Islamabad continues, and Pakistan remains on edge.
Well, in other news, Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Mohan Yadav is on a week-long visit to the United Kingdom and Germany till the 30th of November to attract investment to the state. In fact, the Chief Minister's office says Mr. Yadav will hold one-on-one discussions with industrialists and investors to secure investments in key sectors such as the automobile industry, electric vehicles, renewable energy, education, as well as food processing. The focus, they say, will be on forming partnerships with major industries and MSMEs in both countries, highlighting Madhya Pradesh's advantages as a cost-effective and efficient manufacturing hub. As always, thank you so much for investing your time and watching this edition of The World 24/7. We'll keep tracking the latest updates for you. Do stay tuned.